The summons came on a Tuesday, which surprised me, because nothing consequential had ever happened to me on a Tuesday. 7 years on the Vethavar Accord station, and the Tuesdays had all been the same. Morning rounds on the atmospheric grid, a mug of reconstituted coffee that tasted faintly of the polymer gasket I kept meaning to replace, and whatever small machinery had decided to misbehave overnight. Tuesdays were mine. Nobody came for me on Tuesdays. The messenger was Theshari, a junior archivist from the looks of the rank band on his collar, pale gray with one amber stripe, the kind of clerk who spent most of his shift cross-referencing molecular signature records from the previous century. He held a document in both hands with the careful formality his people used whenever something had weight. He told me Examiner Sethar Voss of the Theshari Accord Archive wished to speak with me at my earliest availability. He said earliest availability, the way Theshari always said it, which was to say, now. I told him to give me 10 minutes to finish my morning log. He waited outside the maintenance corridor with his document held level, as if it might spill. I did not know what I had done. That is the honest thing to say. I walked to the archive examination chamber, running through the last week of my work the way you run through a conversation after someone tells you they found it offensive, looking for the thing you said that you did not know you were saying. I found nothing. The atmospheric grid had been nominal. The recycler seals were within spec. I had filed my logs on time. Sethar Voss was standing when I came in. Theshari examiners almost never stand. They work from a low, wide desk that suits their body geometry, with both forearms resting flat and their heads slightly forward, the posture their archive study demands. Standing meant the business was not one they expected to conduct from that desk. He was taller than I remembered. His four-fingered hands were clasped at the level of his sternum, which I had learned, in 7 years, meant he was working through something carefully. He thanked me for coming. He offered me a chair with the short horizontal gesture that Theshari used for that purpose. A small sweep of the outer hand, palm down. I sat. He told me that the archive's classification system had flagged a string in patch V114. He paused to let me place it. I placed it. Patch V114 was an atmospheric recycler diagnostic I had written and deployed 7 years ago, in the first month of my posting. 42 lines of fairly ordinary maintenance code, a repair to a pressure-sensing subroutine that had been throwing false positives on the third deck recirculation ring, small ghost readings that made the grid think it was underpressured when it was not. I had tracked it down over 2 days, written the fix, tested it over a third, pushed it to the station's maintenance partition, and not thought about it since. The subroutine had been quiet for 7 years. The patch had done exactly what a patch is supposed to do, which is to say it had disappeared into the infrastructure and become part of the silence. Sethar Voss turned his screen so I could see it. The patch was displayed in full, all 42 lines. Line 7 was highlighted. Line 7 read, ERR-0031. It sat there as a comment, a hash-marked annotation, not executable, not part of the functional code, just 8 characters and nothing else. I looked at it for a moment. I remembered writing it. Sethar Voss explained, with the methodical courtesy his people used when delivering information they considered obvious, that ERR-0031 matched the Theshari intention of record format 2847 in the archive's classification index. Format 2847 was one of 17,412 recognized intention of record structures catalogued under the Vethavar Accord. A string matching that format, filed within a document submitted to any joint species system on the station, constituted under Accord law a voluntary declaration of systemic intent. The string had been parsed by the archive's indexing system at the time of the patch's deployment. The record had been open since then. I asked how long. 6 years and 11 months, he said. I asked what the declaration obligated. He showed me. Format 2847 in the Theshari system was a declaration of maintenance continuity, a filing that committed the declarer to the ongoing upkeep of a named system for the period specified or implied in the record. It was typically used by Theshari facility engineers to formally register their custodial relationship with critical infrastructure, creating a legal record that could not be abandoned without a formal withdrawal. The archive had been waiting, for 6 years and 11 months, for a human fulfillment record, a withdrawal, or a clarification of the declaration's intended duration. There were people in the Accord office, I knew, who handled this kind of thing. Humans who spent their days in conversation with Theshari archivists about questions of record, classification, and treaty interpretation. It was detailed, careful work, the kind that required patience and a very good understanding of what the Theshari meant by words like intent and record and filed. I was a maintenance technician. I fixed pressure sensors and recycler seals and gaskets that made coffee taste of polymer. I was the wrong person for this conversation. Sether Voss was watching me with the particular stillness his people used when they were waiting. I told him what ERR-0031 was. I told him I had written it myself, on the afternoon I finished the patch, sitting alone in the maintenance corridor with my log open and a mug of coffee going cold beside me. I had a system I had used for 15 years, on 6 postings before Vethavar. When I was running a multi-day repair sequence, anything that took more than a single shift to close, I logged my position at the end of each day with a private tag so I could find my place when I came back. The format was always the same, ERR, for end of routine, followed by a 4-digit number. The first 2 digits were the year of my current posting. The last 2 were the day of the month. End of routine. Day 31. First month of my first year on Vethavar. That was ERR-0031. I had typed it because I had always typed it. Because I was alone in that corridor and it was the end of the day, and the patch was solid, and I wanted to mark where I was before I shut my log and went to get dinner. I had not thought about it since. Sether Voss was still watching me. He said, "The declaration's author has provided a clarification of intent." He said it the way a Theshari archivist says something that is closing a record, with a slight shift in posture, the forearms dropping fractionally, the head coming level. He turned back to his screen and made several notations. The document I could see on his display shifted, a new line appearing at its foot. I asked him what the record said now. He read it to me. He read it with the flat, careful tone his people use for formal archive entries, without inflection, because inflection was not part of how the Theshari kept records. He said, "Maintenance patch V1114, line 7, string, ERR-0031, classification, Theshari, intention of record format, 2847, declaration author, Dov Rice, human, Vethavar Station Systems Maintenance Technician, clarification filed, author's notation denotes end of work sequence marker, day of month position 31, first posting month, obligation, maintenance continuity of the named system, ongoing, clarification confirms obligation fulfilled, patch V114 has been operational and maintained continuously since deployment, record, closed, fulfilled, no outstanding obligation, note appended, first human maintenance notation classified under format 2847, archive branch, primary human maintenance records, origin, Vethavar Station, subcategory, informal position marking, status, fulfilled. He stopped reading. I sat with that for a moment. I asked him if the record was closed. He said it was. I asked if there was anything else. He said there was not. He thanked me for attending and made the small outer hand sweep again, which meant he was done and I could go. I stood. I picked up my work kit from beside the chair where I had set it when I came in. I walked to the door. I stopped at the threshold because something had occurred to me. And with Theshari, you could ask questions you could not ask with every species. They answered them, and they answered them straight, without the particular pause some species use to decide how much they wanted you to know. I asked him how many of my maintenance logs the archive had indexed. He checked. He said, 407 logs over 7 years, 31 patches, 914 notations. Of these, 1 notation had matched a recognized intention of record format. Just the one, I said. Just the one, he said. I thanked him. I walked back to the atmospheric corridor. I finished my morning rounds. I made a note in my log. End of routine. Day 4. ERR-0004. 42 characters shorter than anything a treaty requires. 7 years on this station and I had filed a civilizational declaration on day 31 of my first month, without knowing I was doing it. I had kept it fulfilled without knowing I was doing that either. I had simply done the work the way I had always done the work, marked where I was at the end of the day, and gone to get my dinner. The archive had been watching the whole time. The record said, status, fulfilled. I thought that was about right.